Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this roundtable on faculty-student partnerships in a residential college. We are very privileged to have this opportunity to share with you the SAP that takes place in our college, known as the College of Alice and Peter Tan. There are 5 of us on this team, and 4 of us are from our faculty members, and we all come from different disciplines. And one of our members is Donovan Liu, who is a recent graduate who stayed with us in the 4 years of his time at the university. Tai Chong sends his apologies for not being able to join us in this recording. So right now, I'd like to share with you the outline of our sharing today. We'll begin with a short introduction, providing you with the background and literature on SAP. This will be followed by the 3 case examples and discussion, and then followed by reflections. Here's some background information about our college. We are a residential college that houses about 600 undergraduate students from different disciplines. Most of them are in their first and second years. This shows the ethos, aims, and philosophy and framework of our college. Our college offers a living and learning program where our students live, learn, and play together. And we do this by weaving the theme of active citizenship and community engagement. And this is done through the different formal and informal platforms in our college. And in many of these platforms, where our faculty and students come together to work together, magic happens. And now I would like to hand over the time to Donovan, who will share with us some literature on SAP.
Thank you, Sun Fen. From our literature review, we have found that these are the main elements that characterizes students as partners, or SAP. It's a concept. In our exercise of operationalizing this in our college, we define ours as a hybrid model of pedagogy, as depicted by the orchid hybrid on the slide, the Vanda Miss Joachim, which also happens to be Singapore's national flower. In the case examples, which we will be sharing later on, we feel that power and power sharing is one of the significant features of our model. This should be premised upon mutual trust and the appreciation of student agency, as well as the open spaces created for negotiation to occur. In this next section, we will share with you 3 case examples from our college, starting with the example of an overseas study trip to Nepal, followed by a senior seminar module in the college. We will end off with the case of a reading group on food and life in Singapore, co-convened by a student and a faculty member.
Thank you, Donovan. Yes, I'm going to elaborate our first case example, which is SI Steer Nepal. This was a collaboration, a partnership between SI Wing Student Group, a student group that focuses on using social innovation as a framework in engaging with communities. And STEER is a program, an overseas learning program that is part of NUS, but there are several such programs that are conducted within the college, but which are primarily initiated and led by faculty. What is unique about SI Steer Nepal was that this steer was proposed, initiated, and conceptualized by the SI Wing student group. And we came on board when they brought in this proposal, and that is how this program was created. And so a little bit more about this program to give the context. This is an overseas learning program based on the theme on development dilemmas and design. And in the program, we had seminars and visiting Nepal, the different places in Nepal, and the students had some reflections and deliverables to produce within that learning program. So when we looked at this collaboration with the student group, we located the students as partners in actually both the crucial phases of this program. As I highlight in the next slide, it's about the first phase, the ideation, when they conceptualized, the students initiated, conceptualized, submitted the proposal, we embarked on, we were very excited, and we had the support from the head of the college. But the final proposal was a collaborative creation. We worked with them to come up with the final proposal. The second phase, which was the actual conducting of the program, we again collaborated equally. And I'm going to highlight these 2 places where it's very evident. So the first part is where we had to recruit participants. So by the very nature of such programs, you have to have a cap on the number of participants. So this selection of participants was not done as a top-down approach from us faculties, but it was done in collaboration with the student partners. Likely, conducting the actual program when we had lessons, the pre-trip sessions, we each took a turn to contribute to those. For example, we as faculty brought in the lessons on history, culture, etc. of Nepal, and students brought in their expertise on the social innovation by bringing design thinking framework, etc. So it was a mutually collaborative partnership that we exercised and we carried on. And in the next slide, I'm going to just highlight how this partnership actually enlightened this insight for us that these sorts of partnerships was only successful because there was this absence of the power hierarchy. And it was very heartening to see the same sort of sentiments being shared by students in the reflections, particularly the one that we highlight in the slides from the leaders, where they talk about, how this collaboration, this power sharing, taught them resilience, for example, taught them how to build proposals in an iterative manner. And we learned as faculties how to trust students' knowledge that they bring in. So I'm going to let Angie take over from here.
In case example 2, I will share how the Understanding Communities module partners with student groups as community partners. Understanding Communities is a level 2000 module and is part of the college's formal curriculum. Konkana and I co-teach this module, and our student partners for this module are CAPSLAM and CAP Kamal. Both are student-initiated and student-run programs that focus on mentorship with secondary school students. Next slide. The focus of the Understanding Communities module is to provide a bridging function and teach students community-based research and learning. Partnering with the student groups allows students in the module to learn in a hands-on format. Next slide. In this case, student partners are not involved in the pedagogical process. Rather, they collaborate with faculty as community partners for the module. So Konkana and I meet with the leaders from the student groups to discuss the scope and research question for the mini research studies and confirm dates that students from the module will conduct site visits and interviews with the selected respondents from the two groups. Close to the middle of the semester, students from the module will go to research sites to conduct observations and interviews. At the end of the module, students will present their findings and share their findings with CAPSLAM and CAP Kamal. We can see that in this student-faculty partnership, that leaders from the student groups are involved in every step of these mini research studies. I'll now hand over to Donovan to take us through case example 3.
Thank you, Angie. The third example here is a reading group exploring food and life in Singapore, co-convened by Dr. Totai Chong and myself. In CAP, reading groups are part of our informal program, where students come together over 8 weeks to explore topics relevant to each reading group's theme. So here's a short publicity blurb that we used in our college webpage. Essentially, our reading group uses the recent inscription of Singapore's hawker culture on the UNESCO list of intangible cultural heritage as a launchpad to delve into issues surrounding sustainability, inequality, food security, as well as cultural and heritage conservation. The following slide will illustrate the partnership process between Dr. To and myself as we co-convene this reading group. These were the 4 stages. They were planned out in advance and the specifics were settled as we went along. 1 and 2 were completed in the semester before, whereas 3 and 4 were done during the actual semester itself. At the start, we came together and asked ourselves what our main motivations were for working together and co-convening the group. Once that was established, we focused on the lesson plans, which includes the scope and content of each session, as well as identifying the guest speakers and planning out the field trips. In the semester itself, we had pre-session meetups on the day or day before, and this were where we settled the last-minute changes or refined the session's flow. And finally, after each session, we had a simple post-session review where we openly shared our thoughts and feedback, as well as provided pedagogical inputs alongside other areas to work on in the next session. I'll now further elaborate on 2 parts, which are parts 1 and 4. Here's a sample of the questions we asked ourselves in the pre-partnership reflections. Due to the pandemic, we discussed our thoughts over Zoom and discussed this on a Google document. This allowed us to probe deeper into our motivations and concerns. For me, this was crucial as it formed the bedrock of our partnership, such as establishing good practices to encourage open discussions, as well as understanding what both of us hope to learn from this process. Another important element is this, the post-session review. We use questions here as well to zoom into the conduct of each session, and setting aside time to reflect after each session gave us time to discuss our concerns and challenges so that we can help each other along the way. So now over to Angie, who will start our discussion on operationalizing the student as partners concept. Angie.
Thanks, Donovan. So these three case examples highlight how faculty and students in our college have partnered together so far, contributing to the teaching and learning environment that we have. Our models of partnership differ across each case. And for example, both the overseas study trip and the reading group had students as teaching partners, whereas in our second case, the module had student groups partnering as community partners. For the two with students as teaching partners, they also differed in terms of the extent of student agency. In our case, the three hybrids embraced power sharing and had mutual trust between faculty and students established. More importantly, this speaks to the literature on a reciprocal and collaborative relationship, together with respecting students' agency. In our college, students and faculty have a close and collegial relationship, making it easier for students to propose or initiate partnerships. With this relationship, we leave space open for negotiation during various stages of this partnership process. Next, Donovan will speak about the challenges and lessons learned.
Thanks, Angie. As we go about these three examples, it's not that they were all perfect, but there were challenges and lessons to be gleaned as well. So let's just quickly go through the challenges faced by students and faculty. So for a start, students had issues with organizing overseas trip, planning a research design, or even finding partners local and overseas. These were where the faculty came in and supported well. The lack of knowledge and constraints within the formal curriculum were another area where students may not be able to contribute as much. On the faculty end, the amount of time required was a bit high, and we found that it was a bit difficult to balance student agency in co-creating or designing the research scope. More than the challenges, the lessons we can glean from this include both from the students and faculties as well. Skills such as presentation, communication were part of the soft and hard skills learned during the process, together with finding more about the research process, benefiting from findings from research studies, as well as the importance and value of collaboration. On the faculty end, the bridging of formal and informal curricula within the college was seen as valuable and something to be developed on, and a deeper appreciation of what student groups have been and are continuing to do are important. And overall, relationships between the faculty and students and vice versa have been strengthened. And for me as a student, I realized that these presentations we've done really shed insights into the landscape of higher education and how students can be active partners in the process. This is just an exhibition of a partnership, and the HERTSA conference that we're doing here, where I partner the faculty and share with you guys, this is something that also could be explored further. I'm going to hand it over to Soon Fen, who will share a bit more about her reflections from a faculty and college point of view. Soon Fen.
Thank you, Donovan. Yes, and there is much we can learn from SAP, and we have learned from this, as shown in these three examples. And we've also learned a lot as we work with our students. As an institution, we are constantly reflecting and evaluating our pedagogies on how we can enrich the learning of our students and also to make our practices more robust. To continue with SAP, we have to learn to balance the agency and power sharing, as illustrated by these two photos, where you can see our colleagues, one in front in one booth, and in the other picture, the other person is sitting at the back. So in learning to do SAP, we have to learn to strike this balance as we continue this journey of learning and working with our partners, our students as partners. And it's been a privilege to work with our students, and we thank you. And this is a work in progress, and we'll be very happy if we can receive any feedback from you, and to also try to answer any questions you may have on this sharing today. So please feel free to contact us as shown in on this slide. And thank you for joining us today. All the best for the rest of the conference.